Houston Running Zone, the ultimate podcast for runners in the Houston area, featuring the everyday runners who inspire us, clubs, gear, races, and runcations. Houston, we've got the runs.
All right, today in the zone, we have a certified personal trainer. She's a coach, owns her own business, a runner, but more importantly, she helps runners and pretty much a lot of people stay injury-free, which we all want to do. So welcome to the zone, Chase.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, we're already having fun before we even hit record, which is cool. Well, this will be a fun conversation. Well, let's get right into it. Let's be real. Runners typically stink at cross training. And I don't know if it's because we don't want to, and a lot of people, they want to, but they don't know what to do. And that's why I wanted to bring you on today. What are some of the things you can say for runners to do that they should be doing on a regular basis to stay injury-free? Like maybe it's like some sample workouts or sample exercises that they can start doing today.
Sure. I think I'll probably backtrack just a little bit here. Because I think what a lot of people end up doing for running or just getting started into running is really they just think, okay, I'm just going to go run. And they think that's all they have to do, that they have to get in a lot of miles and that they have to, improve every single week or go faster. And running is a very, you're in one plane, you're only going forward. And so What it tends to happen in our bodies, it gets into this like repetition mode. And so your bodies are using the same muscle group over and over and over again. And you create a little bit of fatigue. And so what I would recommend, especially coming from the running space, and I actually have a couple of marathons under my belt, and, I actually started my fitness journey with running. And so absolutely think that a lot of people just start. And then, when it comes to injury, the reason it happens is because, as I said, that repetition happens. And so by doing cross training, you're actually tricking your muscles and strengthening different parts of your body in order to help support those muscles that keep moving, really, like that you keep using. And so what I would recommend is making sure you're getting out of that plane. So again, runners run forward, they're going in the same direction. And by taking your body out of that plane, you're able to strengthen and, as you said, avoid injury. And so a lot of what you could do in that space, do you want to jump into some exercises or do you want to?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. So a lot of what you can do is weight training. So actually lifting some weights and making those muscles stronger. Not necessarily the running muscles, but really just focusing on a couple of things. You can focus on your form, right? Because a lot of people get injured because they've got some weird habits in running. Again, because you're running in that same direction. And so by editing a couple of things, maybe you drop your shoulder when you run, or you are running and then you kind of turn your toes out, or, something like that. Or maybe you don't activate your glutes when you run, or maybe you kind of let your hips fall forward when you run. So there's a lot of things that happen in the mechanics of actually running. Well, then over time, as you're running incorrectly or running with those weird habits, that's where those injuries start to happen. So first and foremost, I would kind of step back and assess the injury, or in order to avoid those injuries, making sure you're doing full body workouts prior to or with your running program.
Yeah. What kind of full body workouts do you recommend? Let's pretend they have zero knowledge about weight training, like maybe some body weight, like some simple stuff. And of course, they could YouTube look at this later.
Yeah.
What are some of what would be like your basic core or body weight exercises that you could recommend that everybody should be doing?
Sure. As I said earlier, getting out of that plane of motion. So anytime you do a reverse lunges, so lunges are a great exercise, lunges, squats, A lot of core work. So plank position where you're driving those knees, whether that's mountain climbers or a ground rotation, which is where you're in that plank position and you're bringing your knees across your body. So you're bringing your knee to your opposite elbow. So like that's called a ground rotation, or actually trainers have a million names for everything, but
they make it their own.
That's what I call them. And so, as I said, you're wanting to cross those planes. So you're not wanting to stay in that same plane work. You're wanting to get out of that runner direction, right? So lateral work is great. Agility work is great, where you're moving a little bit quicker through your feet, maybe cross directions. Where you've got some shuffles in there, some plyometric type movement where you're actually adding some power behind your movements, where you could take those lunges that we talked about earlier and actually jump, like a jumping lunge or a jump switch lunge or a lunge to a power skip. So all of that would be, taking you into that, plyometric world. Same thing with the squats. So squats then become squat jumps. You could do a squat, turn. You could do like rotate all the way around. So again, getting you out of that, forward motion. And then you can also do, when you start to add some weights in there, as I said earlier, you just want to get a full body workout in. So once you start adding weights, form comes into play just like in running. So having a good understanding of if I'm adding weights to these movements, making sure that you're doing those movements correctly before adding a load of weights. So,
well, that's super cool. Yeah. And I've realized that a lot of people that do the cross training, they actually have better form because they're not fatigued. They're used to, squatting and even the upper body helps as well, where they're not having the fatigue. And that's, I see where a lot of people get injured. They start heel striking and doing all sorts of weird stuff. If you ever just look at your finish line photo and okay, that's what I do.
Yeah. Or the one where you don't even realize there's a camera guy there.
Yeah. Catch me on the up while I'm smiling. Yeah.
Yes.
Camera gains adds 50 pounds. So I'm wondering how many cameras are on.
What is that? I know. I think it's because they all sit down on the ground and they get you right at the core.
Must be. Yeah. I need some uplighting or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I like it because I guess my fastest, 5 years ago, that's when I was lifting, it was semi-heavy, so I was whatever my body weight is at that time, I could squat my body weight. Okay, great. But I never was injured. And then I stopped doing it. And then, okay, well, maybe I'm getting older. Well, no, it's because you don't have those muscles. So a lot of times, are there and I've noticed a lot of people say it's all about the core, because if you have a weak core, then, well, everything's just floppy. What are some core exercises that you recommend that everybody can do? They don't need any weights. They don't need a gym. They don't need anything. They could just do this today. What would be an easy core exercises, plural?
Sure. I think getting back into that plank work is great, because planks do a lot of benefits and concerns too. And you can always add variations to it. But planks are great for core, of course. And then you can also turn to the side and do single arm planks where you're working more of your obliques. And those are great. And then you can also go into if you're on both elbows or both hands, you can rotate through your hips, adding a little bit of a twist in there. And as you know, that is also something that you do when you run. You have that rotation through your core while you're running and moving your legs and squeezing your glutes and doing all the things through the hips. But it's also a lot of core activation that, as you said, by having a stronger core actually can help, because what you're doing by having a stronger core is you're pulling in that pelvic. That again allows you to get into that good gait, that good alignment with your spine, your hips. But if you let your hips fall and let your pelvic drop forward by not engaging your core, that's where you start to see that injury. So I think a lot of that core work could be done with plank variations. You can do a lot of the, as you mentioned earlier, doing weight training. You're actually using a lot of your core when you're squatting. When you start to add the weight, you're tightening through the core. And some other things that you can do, a lot of people go into oh, I'm going to do some crunches, or, oh, I'm going to do some sit-ups, which is cool. And I'm not saying not to do them, but again, a lot of what happens when we do sit-ups is everyone tends, and again, if you're brand new to working out or brand new to jumping into cross training, everyone tends to do sit-ups while they're rounding their shoulders forward and they're rounding in their lower back. And then you start to have pressure on your lower lumbar. If y'all can see me right now, like I'm actually like
this is very
motion.
entertaining to me. This is great. I love recording over Zoom.
Yeah.
If not, we'd be recording at a restaurant, which our schedules didn't match up. But this would be great entertainment for anybody.
Yeah, like sitting over there in the corner and starting to do it. Anyways, so but again, going through that core work, like sit-ups and crunches are great, but what I would really focus on is really pushing the lower back into the mat or into the floor and making sure you're actually activating through the core instead of trying to use your shoulders and your lower back to lift you up. And so again, just keeping your chest nice and proud as you're going through either sit-ups or crunches. And again, switch those up, like maybe do some leg lifts instead of just trying to pull your upper body back. Like you can do core exercises by rotating. You can do them by lifting your legs. You can do them in a plank position, by driving your knees into your chest, by knocking out some mountain climbers, or as I said earlier, so those ground rotations. You can even bring your knee out towards your shoulder. And so if I'm going on my left side, I'm going to be in that plank position, bring my knee up by my shoulder, and then again, working through those obliques on the side. So that's some core work.
Super cool.
And again, to avoid injury, making sure you've got strong glutes. That is key. A lot of knee injuries actually are caused from weak glute activation. So tip of the day.
Well, I don't know if you can tell, I have a stand-up desk, and he said, squeeze your glutes. I'm like squeezing, I'm alternating cheeks, because it's something you can do. I mean, you can do it at a stoplight. You can do it while you're making dinner. Simple things. Now my booty sore, but this is cool because this is something everybody can do. And I know you've done this for 11 years. Now you have your own program. We'll talk a little bit about that. And so many people go, wow, I don't see a lot of the marathoners talk about weight training. Well, I think it was 2 days ago when we're recording this. Today's December 22nd. But a couple of days ago, they had a marathon project, and Sarah Hall is now the second fastest U.S. women's marathoner. And her and her husband are big into weight training because he was just fatigued from just being too skinny. He didn't look healthy, even though he's a record holder. So I see like more and more runners doing weight training. Kara Goucher and everybody that I follow, they're doing something. So don't think just because they're not promoting it, they're doing something. Or follow their Instagrams.
Yeah.
I know you have a program, but for people that are just kind of looking to start, it's not just workouts. Do you also focus on like nutrition, accountability? What would be like the magic sauce for someone that really wants results? Yeah.
I think just starting out, I think we mentioned this before, or maybe this was like our pre-call, not sure. But basically in starting out looking for a program, I think it's really just, did we talk about this? I know we're recording, but do you remember? Was this before?
No, it's before we hit record.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess just trying to figure out which system or which place you're in, because there's a couple of different things that people do when it comes to working out or starting. So either A, you can be in the bucket of, I just need a workout. Okay. That's one thing. Then there's a bucket of, I'm actually training. And what training is you have a goal, you've got a progressive program, you have a training program, you're following an action plan, you've got a little bit of accountability or maybe even some support systems along the way as well. So that's the difference in a training program. And then if you go over here to what an actual like workouts, like just working out or just going for a run, like what are we working for? So there's two different buckets. And I always tell people, especially starting out a brand new program, what are you trying to achieve? Are you, and so just figuring out what that looks like first. If it is a race or a running program, then awesome. Making sure that your running program has, is actually laid out. Like, I mean, you could name drop a whole bunch of running programs, I'm sure.
There's a ton. Yep.
Yeah, there are. And so making sure that you're following an actual program that's progressive, and then that it also has that, cross training program built in there as well. And again, because I've seen a lot where it's not really like it's just following miles, and I got to hit my miles, and then they skip their cross training when actually both of them have to work together. So anyways, and then I think too, once you figure out which bucket you're in, figure out what you like. Like, are you needing extra support? Are you wanting something that's more social? Are you wanting something that has a really pretty facility? Like, what is that you're looking for in your actual program, your program or your workout regimen? And because you're not going to be consistent with something that isn't something you like, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And so I think a lot of people like just jump into something and they're like, oh, I'm going to try this, or I'm going to try this, or they're all over the place with their workouts. But then again, you're not going to get the results that you're wanting because you're not following an actual program.
You are in the Houston running zone. We've got the runs.
And also nutrition. Some people already kind of know what they do. They have their systems in place. They meal prep. Can you give some nutrition hacks or something that people can do right? Is it meal planning or just having like healthy stuff in the fridge? What's someone's starting brand new? What would you tell them to do?
Yeah, basically, and brand new, again, back to it is, where are you? Are you trying to be just overall healthy? Okay, that's great. And then, or are you actually working towards a goal? Because it goes both with fitness and with nutrition. And so if you're working towards a goal, maybe that's, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds and I actually want to keep it off this time instead of going into this 20 pounds gain and lose cycle that I do every single year. And so just trying to figure out which bucket you're in first. If you're trying to just stay overall healthy, that bucket I would recommend, of course, staying with your whole foods, have a well-balanced, eating routine or eating regimen with carbs, proteins, and fats, and then stay away from those processed foods. Like, that's super simple, easy to follow. That's it. Like, if that's your goal, just to be healthy. Well, what does healthy look like? Maybe that's stop eating out. Maybe that's, now we're not going to order as much or buy as much processed foods for our cabinet. Like so there's your healthy bucket. And then I think over here, if you're actually trying to achieve something and you've got a goal in mind that you're trying to hit, then that's where your macronutrients come in, and tracking and understanding, what your body needs. And there's a whole bunch that can go into conversation when it comes to nutrition, but I would recommend, having a start and end date, and when you're wanting to hit that 20 pounds of weight loss, and coming up with a program or working with someone to actually do your macronutrients to break that down. And so, they can help you navigate what your macronutrients might look like. So,
super cool. So worst case, or starting from scratch, eat real food.
Yes.
And if you're serious, count your macros. It's super easy. It doesn't come out of a box. Okay, that you're in the right place, or at least starting at the right place.
That's exactly it.
And it's super simple stuff. And I've realized, everybody lives a little bit. You're going to have some pizza, but when you eat real food, it fills you up faster because there's fiber and things like that. And for most people, do you think that's what holds them back is some of the nutrition, because they're running and they're working out, but they're still eating stuff they know isn't healthy? Do you see that? I
see that a lot. Is people are like, well, I work out because I like to eat. I'm like, oh, I love eating. I eat like 1,600 calories a day. Like I think people get that mixed up, because when you're working out and you actually are training for something, you don't want to fuel your body with like the crap. You know what I mean? Like you should be fueling your body with good stuff. As I said earlier, like the whole foods and the non-processed food. So then you're actually able to perform a lot better in your workouts, and then also to hitting your goals that you're wanting to achieve. So, and I hear that a lot. Like I hear that like, oh, I work out so I can drink, or I work out so I can have my wine. I work out so I can.
Why are you staring at me when you're saying this?
Yeah. And runners are the worst, I swear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's one thing if you just finish a marathon, like that beer does taste really good at the end. I'm not gonna lie. So but it is in balance. Like it's about living, but it's also about having a lifestyle that you're able to maintain, and then you're able to create a system, for yourself that's, healthy. So
yeah, super cool. Well, I appreciate your time today. I know that we've gotten a lot of free information from you, so I'm going to listen to this a couple times before I even edit it, which is awesome. So people, depends on what you're looking for, but yeah, do some searches. But I also realized you said be very specific about your goals, which is some people I just want to look better. I just want to not have to. That doesn't work. I look at it like, as in Google. If you're going to type into Google Maps, oh, we're going to meet in Houston. Well, we're going to be in downtown, but you want to be specific. Oh, my house is not in Houston. Well, it's technically in Houston, but it's 30 minutes away from downtown. So you have to be very specific. So think about Google Maps as far as specific goals. Be specific, or you're not going to go where you want to be.
That is totally true.
Yeah. So also, so people that like me, want something new, fresh, exciting, what do you have to offer? It's not infomercial, but hey, people need what you have to offer. So kind of give us a breakdown of what you have to offer. I know you even start off with like a free Facebook group, and that way they can at least get some value right away. But some of the things you have going on in your new business.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm there, both places, of course, social media. But basically, I've got a free accountability group. I plug in a lot of info and content in there throughout the week, and then as well as my Instagram. But if you're looking for a little bit more focused program, I have a 12-week program that's progressive. It's got workouts, habit coaching calls, as well as, a focus on macronutrients and meal plans and things like that, sample meal plans. So it really just depends. I always make sure that when speaking with clients, like, what are you looking for? What are you trying to achieve? And we build out a program that is specific to them. I say specific because everyone's goals or needs are a little bit different. And so someone might be needing a lot of extra accountability, where you have another person that might be self-motivated and they don't need as much hand-holding. So it really just depends on where the people fall. But you can find me on Instagram, Chase Lynn with 2 N's, 252. And then you can also find me on Facebook, Chase Lynn Williams, online trainer.
Super cool. And also put some links and notes here in the episode notes. Awesome. We appreciate it. Everything again. And thanks for the free info.
Thank you. Yeah. I loved having you. Good to talk with you, Keith.
Oh yeah. We'll definitely have you on again. Well, as always, this podcast is free. All we ask is if you know somebody that could use this information, share it with them. And if you want to find out about upcoming weekly episodes, hit the follow, subscribe button. Just kind of depends on your podcast platform. And if you like this episode, if you could rate us, do a quick review on Apple Podcasts, even better. But most importantly, we look forward to sharing another episode next week.
Thanks for visiting the Houston Running Zone. If you know someone you'd like to be featured in the zone, go to thehoustonrunningzone.com and send us a message. Until next week, always remember, Houston, we've got the runs.